Namaskar. Namaskar, folks. I'm here with Cathy Valentine.
Hey.
We're just finishing actually a yoga class, and she was the instructor.
Yes.
And she did an amazing job. I want to thank you, Cathy, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
How long have you been teaching the classes here for?
Well, it's normally a summer session, but I have been on and off teaching since.
Life is already full of surprises, but you're.
Oh, we have an ad there. Sorry.
Okay. About 2013.
That's when you started teaching yoga?
Yeah. No. Started teaching here.
Wow.
The summer sessions. Yeah.
Oh, one day there will be a plaque with your name there, with like I'm doing a yoga pose, and it'll have you on it. That's amazing.
Let's hope.
We're, by the way, here at the National Harbor in Fort Washington, Maryland. A little later, I'll show you some of the scenery here. Like there's a nice Ferris wheel over there. This is the Potomac River, right? That's behind us there. So, so you've been here since 2013? Every summer?
2013, yeah, 2013. Every summer, pretty much consecutively. The first time I did it, I remember I was so excited. I mean, this was when the harbor just started opening.
Yeah.
And they had a studio that was teaching here, and one of my students, longtime students, said, you should be doing that. Let me write an email to the big fish here at the National Harbor, and she wrote this beautiful email, saying that I should do it, and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I got it. So the first year I did it on my own, and then after that, the harbor employed some gyms, and I kind of was working for the gyms that were here doing the yoga, and but these last couple of years that I've been doing, it's been again just on my own.
I see.
Yeah.
I think we have some people here. Let's see here. Karen is here. She says Namaskar from Greenville, Tennessee.
Hey, Karen.
That's our friend Karen.
Wow.
She's wonderful. And
Hey,
she's a big yogi herself.
Okay.
We actually offer through our community Vistara Circle. We offer every Sunday a online yoga class.
Okay.
Which one of our teachers, Dada V, who lives in this area, who teaches.
Okay.
So she goes to that class.
Okay.
So Karen, now's your chance. If you have any questions about asanas, if you want to share something about your practice, if you want to share some insight, let's ask Cathy. She's an amazing yoga instructor. Can I tell them a little bit about last week?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, well, last week, what I really loved about the class was when you talked about the swan, right? Which is a deep sort of symbolic animal in Hinduism, but definitely in Tantra.
Okay.
So,
now that's okay. Yes, I kind of knew that, but that's interesting because that wasn't on my mind. But please go.
Yeah.
Tell me that.
Well, the swan. I mean, it's like this beautiful animal, right? That basically lives in the muck, lives in the water, but doesn't ever get dirty. Or at least in our imagination, it always has its pure
beautiful
white color, right? And then the wings are also very symbolic. And now I'm going to talk about something more esoteric.
Okay.
Actually, the symbol of the swan, you can look at it like this. One wing represents a question.
Okay.
And another wing represents an answer.
Wow.
So, you could also kind of ideate on the image of the swan and ask a deep question and then wait, looking at one wing and then wait for a deep answer looking at the other.
Right. That sounds like a class I feel compelled to put together.
But what I loved,
nice.
One last thing about what I loved about how you taught it last week was you talked about a deity named Sarasvati and the image of Sarasvati on the swan. And so when you're doing this ideation, you can also maybe visualize just like either say Sarasvati or another form of source that works for you,
right.
Or just the supreme consciousness itself riding on the swan.
It doesn't have to be particularly that deity, yeah.
But tell me more about how you brought that into your class.
I mean, I think for me, yoga, even starting out, it was just, visually, I just was mesmerized by looking at people doing yoga. And the goddesses in yoga, I mean, they just inspire me.
Yeah.
But this idea of grace and graceful movement is a big carryover theme in what what I do and how I move and how I put the themes together. So Saraswati, I mean the whole idea of being inspired, living from inspiration, because that's one of her things she gives or she encourages is living inspired, creative, flow and so forth. So that's kind of where that came from. I hate to say that, but a lot of times when I do a class, you're bringing it up and I'm trying to remember what my frame of mind was, but I very much teach just, in the moment. So it's like, it's hard for me to now think, what was I thinking that made me put that class together? It just kind of comes out, and after it's out, it's like out of my mind too.
Yeah.
But
that's what happens with the mastery you gain, right?
I think it becomes
as a teacher,
more organic and less structured, I think, as I'm moving on in my teaching.
We have Kamali here. Namaskar, Kamali.
Hey.
From Lithuania. Imagine that. Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for joining us from Lithuania. What's going on in Lithuania right now in your life, in your spiritual life? There's Cheryl. I'm not seeing anything or hearing anything. Is it my connection? Uh-oh. Let us know if there's a bad connection, okay? Anushila is here. She's another awesome friend. She's in North Carolina, in Raleigh.
Okay.
So, namaskar, sister.
Hey.
Let us know if you have any questions about asanas. Tell us about how your practice is going. Okay, the connection is good. Karen says, do you have a favorite hip opener for those of us that are navigating past injuries and loss of previous flexibility?
I would say probably the reclined pigeon pose, like that figure 4 stretch, where you lie on your back and you place one ankle below the opposite knee. It's kind of a very supportive, lying back position where the ground is supporting you, but it does give you that flexibility, especially in the outer hip, that a lot of us get tight when we sit a lot or driving a lot, sitting at a desk a lot. So, but I like that stretch because it is supported by the ground.
Yeah, that's a nice one. We ended with that one today.
Yes, we did.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So lying back, lifting your knee up, bringing the right foot over the left thigh.
Yeah, it's sometimes
Holding
called reclined pigeon pose or figure 4 stretch recline.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think so. She says, sounds good for me.
Okay.
Another thing I loved about your class is that you bring a spiritual ideation. Mm-hmm. So there was a moment where you said, basically, to just connect with source, because a lot of times when when we're doing a lot of yoga and obviously a lot of hatha yoga is just taught without a spiritual ideation or without it being very reflective. It's just very much about the body, which is fine, I think that's good.
There's benefit in that.
Sure.
I mean, certainly. If you come to it just for that, there's benefit.
Right. My preference is like what you're doing. Very reflective, very spiritual.
Right.
Because then I can, while I'm doing my asanas, I can go into a spiritual flow. And so then you help the practice become spiritual, not just physical.
Exactly. I simply cannot teach without that anymore. I think when I started out 25 years ago, it was physically focused, but it's just, it's like you can't help but get the spiritual benefits of it the more you practice, if you practice consistently. And for me, I can't help but teach it because it's whatever I'm going through, I have to share that. I'm compelled to share it. So I definitely have very highly themed classes all the time. They always have a spiritual undertone. Whatever I'm kind of going through or wrestling with or studying in my own spiritual practice, I typically bring to the class. And I think yoga is it's such a huge subject. I haven't been bored with it yet. After teaching for 20 years, I still find stuff that just inspires me to teach about. And I like to particularly figure out what poses would kind of speak to this theme, or so like last week when we did the swan, we did the half swan dive. So typically you hear that inhale, exhale, swan
We were
dive.
painting
Yes.
with our fingers.
Oh, painting, yes.
We're
like
kind of
Sars-
gliding our fingers through the mat and then
Yes,
up.
because that's
And those are our wings too.
artistic. So yeah, but I can't teach without a theme nowadays anymore. I mean, that's just
And I can't, if I teach a class, I also like to make it spiritual.
right. I just
Without losing too much of people also getting a chance to be in their body.
right.
And
I
just
mean, because that is
focus
important.
on that.
It is important. I mean, if you study yoga as it's meant to be studied as a spiritual path, you know that the physical practice of asana is to prepare the body for higher states of consciousness.
Exactly.
So it's important that we have a body that's physically fit, that's not riddled with tension, where we can't quiet this, because ultimately that's what it's about, quieting the mind. So it's important that we build endurance, that we have enough strength and we have enough endurance in our body to hold higher states of energy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The physical practice is important, but it's a pathway. It's, you enter the practice through the physical practice, the asana, but it's meant to move you, through your mind and to your heart. So the ultimate,
Right.
is getting into the seat of your heart.
Well, it's just one limb of yoga,
Yeah.
right? The asanas, the physical.
One limb, right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, but when people think of yoga,
They think
that's the only thing
Right.
they think it is.
a lot of times through the years, because a lot of people have, said to me, she's going to give you a kick-ass class, because, I mean, I am very physically, I like the flow, I like the vinyasa style, I like the physical part of it. I personally like that too. But I've always managed some way to sneak in, that little bit of spirituality. And over the years, it's just, I mean, sometimes I'll be like, now, am I really going to say that when I teach? And I do, and I'm just amazed that the people come up to me and say, you spoke to me. And I'm always like, should I say that? That might be a little too far out there, but so far so good.
All of my teachers I've ever. Oh, we have a question here. What would you suggest to relax the body
To relax the
and
body.
one
Sorry.
second, sorry, and mind after a 10-hour workday on my feet? I have a plate. Sorry. I have a plate, pin, and screws in my right leg with decreased range of motion.
So I think after a tense day and with any kind of physical restriction that might prevent you from relaxing, you need to use props. I mean, like bolsters. If you have bolsters, you can use bolsters to prop up your leg. I think you said it was in your leg. But definitely a period of time where you are lying still in what is called shavasana, or relaxation pose. But you can definitely prop yourself up to make it more supportive and restorative. But you got to get still. And at first, sometimes stillness seems not relaxing, but the more you practice, the more you can adopt stillness. And I mean, I think that's really the only remedy for a busy mind, a tense body. You have to buckle down and practice being still. And if you have, conditions in your body that need support, you use whatever, props in yoga you can use, like a bolster, blanket. I guess you don't have to buy a bolster. You can use a blanket, a couple blankets, or cushions from your couch, or even if you have yoga blocks, you can use them to support yourself, so that when you're in the relaxation, you're being held, you're being supported, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. So, Sheri, if you have any follow-up questions on that, just let us know. Karen says, do you have a favorite playlist of music for your yoga sessions? Can you share?
Ooh, music.
Oh, the music is
huge.
another highlight here.
Yeah, the
It's
music
like a
is
whole
huge.
stage and like a big screen with, you can see everybody doing yoga, and then there's a DJ and there's a live percussionist. So it's like the full package. That's what I love about also how you're presenting this, how you're doing this.
I have a DJ and a drummer that complete kind of my team.
And they're like in sync.
Yeah, I put together the playlist, and I give them to the DJ, and the drummer just, he's so good, he can just kind of go along with the music. But the DJ, yes, definitely, he knows to loop this song, he knows to start. I give him the signal, and he starts. So it's all,
That's pretty cool.
It's a little bit, choreographed, because music is so important to me when I teach.
Well,
it motivates me.
I mean, it shows how much you care too about
Yeah.
your class when you take the extra
Yeah.
effort to coordinate it with live
Definitely.
music, with the DJ there.
Yeah, it definitely makes it definitely
And a live
makes difference.
percussionist.
Yeah, it definitely I think has made the experience of being outside with that live drummer DJ unique here at the harbor.
Right.
Playlist. I mean, I have so many. I could share the one. I had today.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
And
okay.
then you give it to them?
We can post it in our Facebook group,
Okay.
the Vistara Circle Facebook group, or maybe if you see this live later, you can put it in the comments.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So Karen, that'll be coming up a playlist that just for her,
Okay.
dedicated to her, the one that we
All
used
right,
today.
Karen, you got it.
And so Camille's saying it's cold and rainy here in Lithuania. Best time to relax.
That's a good point. That's a good time to withdraw. Practice of sense withdrawal or withdrawal is a good time. Is that typically the weather? Is that typically the weather there, or is it just today?
She can answer that.
Okay.
I've been to Lithuania.
Really? Okay.
And well, it's going to start to get colder.
Okay,
Because
right now.
it starts to snow around October,
Oh my
November.
goodness, okay.
December it can be fully white.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you? It's so nice that you're spending time with us during your rainy evening.
Yes.
And taking time to watch something spiritual, watch something inspiring. So that's really good for you. It sounds nice that you are taking a moment to reflect amidst.
Yes.
There isn't much to do, but still, even when there isn't much to do, people will want to just distract themselves with entertainment. Here you are, you're getting some spiritual satsang, because
That's
this is a
right.
way for us to share as spiritualists and get together and spend some quality time together, even though we're not in the same room.
Right.
But,
Absolutely.
but we're still hanging out with someone from Lithuania, for example. And that's a big part of the yogi journey, is to find like-minded people
Oh yes.
and bond with them and spend quality time with them and develop community.
It's
So-
most definitely part of building community, which is a big
Uh-huh.
thing for me. Just being around like-minded people elevates your energy. You share that connection. It's just been so many definitely magical moments here at the harbor when we have 80, 100 people who come out. I mean, it's just to be able to have the opportunity to present something I love so deeply to them,
Yeah.
and then have that magic connection. It's the highlight of my year, there's no doubt about it, doing this outside.
Camille says, yes, it's rainy. And Karen says, referencing the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, do you have suggestions to work through the trembling? By the way, YouTube, why does my chat disappear? Why can't it just stay there? Do you have suggestions to work through the trembling that sometimes occurs for various reasons during asanas?
Trembling. Like a tremor, I guess, a shakiness. I would assume that could have a physical reason, but I would assume it's something to do with the nervous system, whether it's an actual physical dysfunction or not. I'm not saying it is, but for the effects of the nervous system, any kind of trembling or unsteadiness, you're going to work with pranayama, you're going to work with breath, you're going to work with maybe an extended exhale, which turns on kind of that, relaxation response. So even if you do something simple like sit, lie down, and take an extended exhale breath where your inhale is shorter than your exhale. So by extending the exhale, you kind of turn on that relaxation response. That'll help to calm the nervous system. I think more than anything, and even in an asana pose, if you incorporated the breath or paid a little more attention to that extended exhale during your poses, that might help.
Yeah, what do you think about this? Actually, in the tradition where I learned yoga, we incorporate a lot of holding the breath.
Okay.
So for example, if we're doing cobra pose, we would inhale on the rising, right?
Okay.
And then hold the breath for 8 seconds.
Okay.
And then breathe out as we come down, do a series, say, of 7 repetitions.
Okay.
So I agree with you, holding, using the breath to kind of still the body. Breath can help to relax the body and relax the trembling. And perhaps also the withholding of the breath can also help. But what do you think?
Okay. I I think it definitely, you know, your practice, your mat is time that you experiment. So I definitely think you should try it, you know, if you think it will help. But you know, I always teach that there are 4 parts to the breath. The inhale is what we take in from the external. It's how we draw in energy. The holding of the inhale is where we build energy. So it's more of a sun energy, an active energy. And then the exhale, of course, is the letting go. It's how we give of ourselves to the external world. And then the end, at the end of the exhale, where we remain empty, is where we touch our truest self. So that's kind of how I teach it. But I mean, I definitely feel like the mat is your laboratory for you to experiment with.